God like this? You all come on in. Mic check. Can you hear me okay?
Everything is perfect.
Fantastic. Grab your family around, grab your friends, grab your co-workers, your children. Let them know that we are here live with another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This with none other than Crystal Harrell. So you all come on in. Come right on in.
Can you share this as well? Like if I tried to share this, could I share the live?
Absolutely. 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 You all come on in. We'll give them a couple of seconds. So come right on in. Great afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be calling in or joining us live with for another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This. So whether you're joining us on YouTube or on Facebook Live, I just want to take out time to welcome each and every one of you. So come right on in. Come right on in. Hello. Great evening, great morning, great afternoon to each and every one of you. I'm so happy and grateful that you have taken out time out of your busy schedule to join us for another episode number 12 of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This with none other than Crystal Harrell. All right, where it's my mission, my goal, and my desire to share with the world the crisis or those traumas that God has permitted in our lives, and then those triggers or those defining moments that is or was used to strengthen our faith, and then those triumphs or those victories, right? Those victories that we've experienced to, above all, glorify God and to help others. Hallelujah. I am so honored, and we are so blessed to have none other than my special guest today, Crystal Harrell. So Crystal, welcome.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you for having me. This is honestly like so cool to me. Like just to be able to share this space with you. Thank you.
No, it's an honor for me to have you here. And so thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be with us today. So everyone, before we get started, let's go ahead and do some house rules. So for the ones who join us from my private Facebook group, Broken Pieces to Peace, you'll be able to share your comments and we'll be able to see your comments live. So go ahead and give StreamYard permission to see your name so that we'll know who you are as you comment in the comment section. Also, go ahead and love, like, and share. Love, like, and share. So hit that love button, hit that like button, and then share it with a minimum of 10 people. Share it with a minimum of 10 people, okay? So if you've been enjoying it from week to week, definitely let them know that we are here for another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This, all right? So Crystal Harrell. Crystal is a PhD in public health student at Yale University and serves part-time as an Army Medical Service Officer and a certified academic success coach. She conducts religious, spiritual-based research in low-income African-American communities to further investigate how public health officials can improve the narrative of Black health in America. Crystal also helps students successfully navigate through higher education using her virtual coaching business, Crystal Clear. Did y'all hear that? Crystal Clear. Innovation through education. She currently holds a leadership position in her military unit and has helped over 24 students achieve their academic goals. Crystal has also presented her research at over 15 conferences, including highly selected American Public Health Association meetings and expos. Crystal received 600, can you all listen to this? Get real close to your computer. Get real close to your phone, okay? Listen at this. Crystal has received over $670,000 in scholarship awards, including the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Millennium, Millennium Scholarship and the Yale School of Public Health Dean's Research Award. She shares details on her academic journey to help other non traditional students get ahead in her first book. Woo! Crystal clear. And I tell you, it's a great read. It is a great, great, great read. Okay. So let's see what else. She recently, yeah. And I forget to say that she is from Alabama. Woo woo! Sweet home Alabama. Yes, let's represent in here. Okay. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Crystal graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology and Master's of Science in Human Development and Family Studies from OU, Auburn University. Not Alabama, Auburn University with honors. And she recently obtained her Master's of Public Health in epidemiology. What? Did I say it right? Okay. From George Washington University, and will complete her PhD. Her PhD. Her PhD in public health at Yale. So, my. We are so happy to have you here with us today. I am so excited about this interview for everyone to get a chance to know you and to be able to hear your phenomenal story. Man, I am super excited. I am super excited. So welcome, Crystal, to another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This?
Thank you so much, Pamela. It's always interesting hearing that bio because I'm just like, it doesn't even feel like me. And it wasn't me. It was my creator living through me. But it's just like, it's really cool to be able to, like I said, just be able to share this space with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a pleasure. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So my show, of course, is about your journey through those traumas and then those triggers and then those triumphs, right? Mm-hmm. And so share with my audience. I mean, your story is so intriguing to me. And I was just so blessed when I met you. We were in the same coaching class together. And I was like, wow, I knew that we were going to connect. I knew that. I knew we were going to connect. Okay. And so I just want you to share with my audience today, what was that thing that happened to you or those things? First of all, share with them who you are in the eyes of Crystal. Okay. And let them know who you are according to Crystal.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's always an interesting question because it's hard seeing yourself because you have many selves. And I started studying this when I was in undergrad, when I got my degree in sociology, that you present different selves to the world. So I always have to like figure out which self that I present. But to me, the way I look at myself is, following the narrative of my background. So I was born and raised in rural Alabama. I'm one of 10, so my mom had 10 children. And we grew up in public housing apartments in Hillcrest when I was growing up. And I just thought that was normal. I thought, most families were raised in environments like that. Thankfully, both my parents are ministers. And so my dad was a deacon and my mom is a prophetess and a pastor. And so I grew up with a lot of love in my household. So my parents' love and their dedication into their children really shielded us from a lot of adversity that you usually face in situations like that. So I didn't know that I was living in living in a disadvantaged neighborhood until I got older, and I started studying the exact populations and the exact neighborhoods that I grew up in, and I saw some of those health outcomes for people who are in situations like that. So, so that was my childhood. And when I was 11 years old, my father actually lost his life to cancer. And I didn't know what was happening at the time because I was too young to really understand what chronic disease was, what leukemia was. But I obviously knew that something was wrong before he got sick. Like a few years before he got sick, I noticed that he started to lose a lot of weight due to the chemotherapy. So I knew that something was wrong. And I knew that, you know, it was going to be different for me and my family, but I had no idea that he was going to pass away. And so I remember one day I got up and I went in my front room, and there were a lot of people in my front room that I didn't recognize. And then my mom was sitting on the couch and she told me, you know, she said, I have something to tell you that may be a little bit difficult to understand at first. And she said that your dad passed away last night. And I remember like her words became so muffled after that. I didn't know what was really happening. It just sounded like, you know, like on the Charlie Brown or like, want, want, want. Like that's literally what happened to me. And then like after about what felt like 30 minutes, probably for like 2 minutes, I was sitting there trying to figure out what my mom was saying after that, but I couldn't hear anything after she told me that my dad passed away. And so I went to the back room and started crying. And so from that day forward to up until I graduated from high school, me and my family moved a total of 6 times. Mind you, like I said, my mom's a single mother of now 10 children, and it was about 5 or 6 of us in the house at the time that my dad passed. So she had a large responsibility, and she was also pastoring a church. And she was also working full time. So there were times when I got home and I never saw my mom, because by the time we got home from school, she was gone, and she was coming home when we were already asleep. So that was the majority of my childhood. And then when I was in high school, I saw that there was an opportunity to go to college, and I knew that my education was my ticket out of poverty. I knew that it was a way for me to really express myself because I was good at school. I was good at learning. I love learning. I love teaching what I learned. And so I knew that I had to go to school, and my dad always pushed me to read. He always pushed me to do well in school. So I knew that when I started becoming very passionate about education, that was the way I stayed connected to my father. I also started journaling during those years to help cope with a lot of the emotions I was experiencing as, you know, dealing with childhood trauma and how that was affecting me at the time, which I didn't, like I said, I didn't realize what was really going on until I got older, and I was able to really look back and see that, you know, there's a law of cause and effect in the universe. And so I was able to see some of the causes to the results that I had in my life. And so, yeah, I ended up getting a scholarship, the Bill and Melinda Gates Millennium Scholarship, and the Army ROTC, and a few other academic scholarships, which, you know, equaled up to $670,000 and it paid for my entire education, and it's still helping me with my education now. So, yeah, and that's pretty much where it ends. I've been in school for the past 8.5 years. Going into my last semester of classes. And then the only thing that stands between me and Dr. Harrell is a dissertation. And then, yeah.
Go girl. Go girl. That is awesome. So you went a little fast, okay? So can I reel it back? Can I just reel it back?
That was like the condensed version. That's
right. Right. I mean, it's so much packed into that. And that, I mean, you're so used to telling your story. And it shows, I mean, it's beautifully done.
Thank you.
And I want, will you share with your audience, how old are you?
26.
26. That's a lot to be packed into a 26-year-old.
But I started this work when I was 23. So it's been a long time coming. It's just like, this is just where I am in my journey of personal development and spiritual growth.
Ooh, you said a mouthful right there. Because do you not understand that where you are right now, so many people have not even gotten there. And I can relate that to myself, because I did not know that there was personal development or books or tools out there to help you to navigate through life, if I could say it like that. Yeah. To
Mhm.
help you navigate through life and become a better person and to be enlightened on different aspects of life, right?
Yes.
And especially when you're going through traumatic experiences, when traumatic things have happened to you in your life, then how do you deal with that? Who did, how did you, who guided you and directed you in the direction of getting, help and healing? I know that growing up in a Christian home and having that strong spiritual background, that for sure God was your strength,
Yes, definitely.
for sure.
But that's the thing, is it's, yes, it's God's grace and mercy, but that covers all of us, whether or not you want to believe that or not. And it's your awareness of that connection, and of that grace and mercy, that's going to lead you towards the truth. And the
Yeah.
truth honestly just led me back to myself, and realizing that, my creator was closer to me than my own skin. Because you grow up in such a religious home, you always think that God is someone that is outside of you. And my relationship with God was through my parents,
Hmm.
because they were leaders in the church. And I always thought that God was this old white bearded man who was sitting on the throne, and like, that's what my image was. And I was, so I was just
Yeah,
like,
because in a lot of our, you know, I don't know about anywhere else in the world, but in the South, I know that most households had that white image on our wall,
right,
right?
right.
With
And
the
it's
weird.
passed down. You have to realize, like, even trauma, like, I told you I study this in school, and so I learned that generational trauma is actually passed down at a cellular level. So everything that the mother experiences is passed down through her child, through her womb. And so generational trauma is proven at the scientific level, and both at the spiritual level. And science and religion and or spirituality, I would say, actually complement each other. They're not separate fields. They're intertwined so greatly. And so once you realize that, you start to unpack a lot of these subconscious beliefs about who you are and who your creator is. And so, yeah, it's passed down, not only your subconscious beliefs, but even at the genetic level. There's nothing lost in your genetic code. So you have to know where you come from in order to know where you're going.
Ooh, that's good. That's absolutely good. You definitely have to know where you're going. I mean, where you come from,
Mm-hmm.
and that spiritual foundation. I mean, where would you have been without that spiritual foundation?
Not here. It was passed down to me. Like I said, I saw my grandmother when she was alive, and then I saw my mother do it, and it was just like, always they had high levels of like intuition or just discernment, and it was just like, okay, like I knew that was a gift. And
Hmm.
so you asked me, like, how did I know? I believe we all know what we need to do, because our truth was already given to us before we were even formed in the womb. So I think that we all know. It's just what level of delusion have has been passed down to us about who we're supposed to be. And
Sure.
it's the journey of self-discovery is not about finding something that wasn't there. It's unpacking something that has already been there. And so
Hmm.
that's what discovery means. It just means it means acknowledging. So yeah, you always know, but it's just, are you brave enough to take the steps in the right direction? Because fear holds us back from our truth.
Sure. And I'm telling you, you really exemplify what it means to really live your dreams and live not a life of fear, live a life of faith.
Hmm.
I mean, I see you all over the place. You have lived in Bali, from Alabama to Bali.
I'm like, it's crazy, because like you still feel like you can do more. I feel like this is like scratching the surface, like, how there's like,
Yes.
yeah, like a burning desire within you to just to serve. Because before, like, getting all those degrees, I was trying to prove that I was good enough. I was covering up the hurt that I was feeling from losing my
Mm.
father. and I was trying to get external validation by being this overachiever, this hard worker. And none of that matters. I'm not my degree. It doesn't matter how many degrees I get or how many, what jobs I get. That's not who I am. And
Absolutely.
once you realize who you are, it's just like God takes you in a totally different direction. So it's just like, yeah, all those accolades are impressive. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful that God used them to get me the platform to share what's really true about living life in an intentional and divine way, because like that's what I pray every day. Like, you just have to work on yourself. I pray that, like with all the books and all the interviews and like, just the conversations you have with people like you who have done it, they're a living example of what development looks like. And I learned from that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, you said a whole mouthful um, when you hit on your degrees and being an overachiever. I know people today who have so many degrees, more degrees than a thermometer, and you know, and they have not, and you are so wise beyond your years, because what I see in them
Hmm.
is they, the ones that I know that I know have had a traumatic experience, a really traumatic um, childhood,
Hmm.
but no, they didn't have a spiritual foundation.
Yeah.
So therefore, in adulthood, they had to validate themselves through the degrees
Yeah.
to let them to let the degrees know that they are enough.
Well, what happens when you do that? And like I tell this story because this is how my spiritual journey started. I was 23 and I was going through one of my first breakups, and I was completely heartbroken because when I lost my dad, I suffered from abandonment issues and anxiety. And I thought that if I ever fell in love, that the person would end up leaving me and I would be
Mhm.
abandoned again. So that was like a constant fear. That was the only thing I was fearing. And so you get what you focus on. And
Absolutely.
sometimes your fears come true because you're putting so much energy into it. So I was dealing with that. My biggest fear was facing me, with literally looking me straight in the face. I was in a program that wasn't fulfilling my needs as a graduate student. I was constantly being told by my advisor that I couldn't finish my degree in time. I wasn't, it was just like not a very healthy relationship. Um,
Hmm.
with my advisor. And if you're in graduate school, you understand how important it is to have someone who's supportive of your academic endeavors because it means so much to your trajectory as a graduate student. I was also living in a space where I didn't feel supported by my community. And so it was like so many things that were causing me to wish I was in a different place. And
Yes.
so I told myself, I said, when I get my degree, I was getting my first master's. And I said, when I get my degree, I'm going to be happy. And I was banking on that. I was like, oh man, like I'm so miserable now. I would wake up some days because I was so sad, I couldn't sleep. Like I would just wake up in extreme sadness. And I didn't talk to anyone about what was going on. There was no one that could help me. I'm not a venter, so I never vent about my problems to people. I never dump,
Hmm.
because I know what it feels like to feel that way, and I don't want anyone to feel that way. I don't want to, transfer that energy. So I always kept it to myself.
Sure.
And I kept telling myself, oh my God, I'm going to be so happy when December 2018 comes. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to get my degree. And I remember the day came and I walked across the stage and I felt even worse then than I did before I got my degree.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's when I turned around and I was like, this isn't right, because I said that I was going to be happy when this happened and then it happened and I wasn't. So that means that there's something going on internally that isn't right. And so
Hmm.
that's when I started doing the self education because I wanted to know what was going on internally that was so off. And I was so turned around. I was facing out. I was living from the outside in. And
Wow.
that's when I was like, okay, I have to turn around. And then it was just like, you ask for wisdom and he gives it to you. And I did. I prayed and asked God for wisdom to know what was going on internally. And that's when I saw that I was traumatized and I
Wow.
needed help. And so that's when I started seeking help because I know that the mind that created the problem isn't the same mind that's going to fix the problem.
Come
Um,
on.
so
Come
it
on.
was that's what happens when you try to achieve to cover up hurt. It's living from the outside and it's living from ego, and it
Mhm.
never works.
And ego is what?
Edging
Etching God.
God out. Yes, ma'am.
For those who don't know, that's
Yes.
education in itself.
Yes.
Woo! That's wow, 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 wow. So you said that your turning point was when you were 23,
Hmm.
when you felt that God was trying to get your attention. Is that?
That's exactly.
And what was that like? Come on,
um,
show them some signs. Give the people some hope that are in the middle of it right now. What
I
that looks like.
I was never, because of my background, I never really thought, like I never had like suicidal thoughts. That was
Mm-hmm.
never like something that I thought, but there would be days when I was going through that time period when I was 23, when I would literally wish that I would go to sleep and I didn't wake up. Like
Wow.
that was just like something. And even now, like it's giving me an emotional reaction because I'm looking at myself as that 23-year-old. I'm not the same person. I don't even identify with it. But like as someone from the outside looking in, I see that broken girl, and it's just like it causes an emotional reaction because there's so many people who are even more broken than what I was. And they're walking around with a smile and no one would ever know what they're dealing with. So you asked me like, what did that feel like? It felt isolating because I was broken and I couldn't tell anybody. It felt disconnected
Wait,
because
wait. You mean to tell me that you felt broken and you couldn't tell anybody, and you come from a family of how many?
Ted,
What and what number do you fall in there?
I'm number 7.
That's right, you number 7, and I'm number 7, and I'm the baby, and you know what? That's just how it is.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. You know, it's it's a lonely road sometimes. You know,
Because you
when
realize
God has I'll say this: when
that,
God has a higher purpose and a higher calling on your life,
yes.
then He will kind of like pluck you out
Mm,
and separate you from
mm.
the rest, so that you can go through this journey, and He can, make, shape, and mold you into and get you prepared for the greater blessings ahead.
Yes, 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 yes. And that's why fast forward 2 years, I picked up and moved to Bali because it
Mm,
was, I saw my creator was calling me there. And I knew that in order for me to want to heal people or help heal people, I was going to have to be healed. And so Bali was that piece that really like solidified all of the transformational endeavors that I was embarking on, because I was just like, okay, like I'm still hurting. Like there was something that it was like that residual. I don't really know. I mean, because it was like what 14 years of dealing with this trauma, and
mm,
it wasn't going to be gone in 2 years.
right.
And so it was just like I had to be isolated. And Bali was so peaceful and so like the veil between you and God was so thin there because people are
Wow.
so at peace, and it's so easy because the cost of living is so low. So you don't have all this consumerism. You're not bombarded by anxiety. Like
Mhm.
I never worried about where my next meal was going to come from. I was, able to actually help the economy because, the Bali economy thrives on tourism, and with the pandemic, there was none.
Wow.
So it was just like, like I wasn't stressed about money. I wasn't stressed about living anywhere like I was in the States, because so God had my full attention for me
Mm,
to focus on my internal environment. And so I can honestly say that since Bali, I have not been the same, like just the whole healing process. Obviously it's a process. So I
sure.
have to be aware of my triggers now. And I
Sure.
still have some triggers.
Sure.
But it's not the same, and I
Mhm.
know I'll never be that broken again. And there was a quote that I love that says, sometimes God will break your heart to fix your vision, and that's exactly what happened.
Mm. Say
It
that
was
again. That's good. That's
like
good.
when I heard that, I was like, ooh. It was
Yeah, that's good.
it was sometimes God will break your heart to fix your vision.
Whew, that's good. That's good stuff right there, girl. That's good. That is good, good, good. Well, I'm telling you, see when I see you just got videos all over the world, I'm like, live that life, Crystal. I mean, just doing the thing. I mean, just woo, just living it. You know, the people who are 60 and 70 haven't even lived the life, girl. You've lived a whole full life.
It was
And
actually
it's just
cheaper.
getting started.
Yeah, it's cheaper. It's cheaper. It was cheaper for me to live there than here. It was cheaper, like so much cheaper. And people think it's so expensive, but it's not. Like it was cheap. It was super cheap. Like my rent was maybe $300 a month versus $1,800 a month here in New Haven. Coffee was like 60 cents. So I had enough because I'm a student, so I always drink coffee to help me like stay awake during the late hours when I'm studying. And so coffee was like 60 cents, and it was just honestly just the way the people treated you. So I was treated a certain way in the States because of the color of my skin. And when I went to Bali, I was praised for the color of my skin.
What
So
you
you
say? Girl, I need to Bali. What?
listen, people celebrate you there. They celebrate your cultural background. And for the first time, no one cared about my background. No one cared about the degree I had. No one cared. There were celebrities walking around. Like I told you, I met with Russell Simmons, and he was just literally sitting in a coffee shop. And I was like, hey. And he was like, hey, I'm Russell. And I'm like, Russell Simmons?
The Russell? We know a lot of Russells, but
right.
You look like somebody I know.
Right. And I was like, he was like, yeah. And I'm like, no. I literally tried to argue this man down. But that's how it is in Bali. No one cares. So you can live freely.
Wow, yeah, I saw you on your moped. I was like, you are in the dark riding on a moped.
It's safe. It's the safest country. So Bali is actually one of the safest countries for female solo travelers. I did a lot of research before I left. Trust me, there's no crime there. Like obviously, don't be careless. Like I was still very aware of my surroundings, but there was like no one wants to hurt you because the Balinese people believe in karma, and so like instant karma too. So their religion and their culture is so intertwined that it caused them to act in a certain way. And so like you treat it a certain way. So yeah, I wasn't afraid, and I was, like I said, just free. Like it just felt good.
I experienced it through you. I mean, I was like, yes.
I was crying when I first came back because I was like, I miss Bali. And I came back to finish my degree, but it's just like, I miss it so much, but it's still in me. And so I know that eventually I'll get a chance to go back and bring some of that, no matter where I go in life. But I miss it every day. I miss it.
Absolutely. That sense of peace that surpasses all understanding. I saw that. Yeah. That's good. But let's shift to giving God the glory. Where's the glory of God in coming from you, that traumatic experience with waking up and your mom telling you and your siblings that your dad has passed. Now, and did you all grieve together, or did it tear you all apart, or did it draw you closer together? Because I know I've lost my sister, the one that was closest to me, on her 30th birthday. And this was in 98. And so it was a very traumatic experience. And so I know that, traumatic death experiences, and especially if you've not experienced a death in your family, and that's a traumatic, really traumatic experience, then it typically brings you closer together as a family, or it will tear you apart.
Yes.
Do you care to talk about that and elaborate on that to see?
Yeah, I definitely don't mind. And my condolences for your sister. It is, like you said, very traumatic to lose someone so close, because you always think that they're going to be there. You never in your mind do you think one day you'll wake up and they won't.
Absolutely.
So during that time when I was 11, and so all my, like I said, I'm number seven, so I'm one of the babies of the family. So all my siblings were older,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually, because this part of my life was so difficult, I don't remember most of it because for me to move forward, and this is actually the first time I'm talking about it, but for me to move forward and not allow that traumatic experience to become a negative, I had to really push it to a place to where I kind of just like zoned out
Yeah, I
for
get it.
yeah, for at least like middle school and most of high school, I zoned out and just kind of just put everything that I knew, like all of my emotions, into sports and into my education. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say that it did bring my family closer. Like even now I'm in a group chat with all my siblings and we talk all the time. I mean, they have their own families now and things are so different because we're older. But we are very close. Like I could call one of my siblings now. I mean, they probably won't answer, but they'll get back with me. But like, hopefully they're not listening to this. But they
Right,
never
right.
answer my phone calls. And everyone calls me. Everyone calls me. Like all my siblings call me when they want someone to talk to because I always answer my phone. But I'm always,
Oh,
but no,
I know the feeling.
yes, but it made us closer. Looking back, made us
Mhm.
closer. My mom is was so strong, and even though me and my mom didn't get along when I was in high school, when I became of age and I realized that she did the best she could with the hand that she was dealt, I have
Mhm.
so much respect for my mom. I mean, massive respect. In fact, like the reason why I work so hard now is because I want to make sure that my mom lives comfortably in her old age. Like I want to make sure my mom never has to worry about working again. She's worked since she was 12, and
Mm.
she worked multiple jobs after my dad died just to support us. So
Mhm.
I have the means now. I have, the opportunities that my parents and my grandparents made sacrifices for, just for us to have, just for future generations to be able to walk in these places. And
Yeah.
my mom tells me all the time, she was like, I never imagined that God would allow me to birth something that goes to an Ivy League. And to me, it doesn't
Ooh.
like
Sweet.
registered for me because I'm just like, oh right, that's true.
Right.
Because you're walking in it. And so it was just like, now that God has afforded me these opportunities, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to honor my mom because she sacrificed so much for us.
I believe that. I believe that because I'm telling you, your heart is amazing,
Thank you.
amazing, and you get giving back. You get that so clear, and I'm just so honored to be in your presence.
Oh,
I'm
so
honored to know you and to be able to pick up the phone and call you. And so
yes, when I'm not in class, I promise I'll answer.
it's so amazing. It's so amazing. And, I just wanted you to be able to go through that. And then we touched on your triggers. Now
Mm,
let's go into the triumph.
mm, I love that.
Okay.
Mm,
Because it's all God allows these things to happen to us in our lives so that He can get the glory.
yes,
And
definitely.
this is what this platform is all about. It's about giving God the glory through our tri our traumas in our life.
Mm,
He is shaping us and making us and molding us so that we can be a light to the world,
yes.
and so that He can save our souls,
Mm,
and um, and yeah, and we can spread the light of His love and how He operates. You know what I'm saying, in our lives, to let
mm,
others know that if we can make it through that thing, then you too can make it. Because what I found is your destiny is hidden in that thing.
yes.
Can you vouch for that?
I can 100% vouch for that.
Because what would have happened if your dad had not have died?
I wouldn't be this person sitting in front of the screen right now. And I thought about that for years now. And I said, in order for this person to come into manifestation, everything had to happen exactly the way it did. And there
Mm.
are people who suffered worse things than
Yeah.
what I did, like way worse things. But then
Yeah.
there's people who made it out of those situations. I look at Les Brown, Lisa
Yeah.
Nichols, Jim Rohn. I look at all these people who were telling me that it doesn't matter where you come from or what you look like. If you have the right mindset, there's
Yeah.
nothing that you can't achieve. And I believe them. And that is honestly the thing. You have to have belief. Even if you don't believe in yourself, still believe in the belief they have in you, that you
Absolutely.
can go even further.
Absolutely. And when you live out your life, or when we live out our lives, it gives others permission to do the same.
Definitely. Because I wouldn't be here if I didn't see, like my hero Les Brown doing it. I can't tell you. And just be able to talk to him, like
Yes.
that blows my mind. And seeing the picture with him like holding my book, I can't
I
tell you.
know.
I
I
was
was like,
like,
yes, yes, we just talked about it. We just talked about it. That is amazing. That is amazing. And then when I talked
wait,
to him, I
you
was like,
talked about it?
huh?
You talked to Les Brown about it?
No, I saw him with
Oh,
his
yes.
picture holding your book. But when I spoke to him and I had him on the show,
I saw that.
and man, and then I am in another coaching class, another coaching course with him right
Yeah.
now,
Mhm.
and just being able to have him in my space, talk to him, they were like,
Yeah.
you must have some connections. You must have known him. I know God. I'm connected.
The greatest
I,
connector. The
yes,
greatest
I am.
connector.
I am connected to the connector. The power source.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, it's truly a blessing and an honor, and that is where we connected.
Yes, through Power Voice, and I
Through-
saw that ad, and I thought it was a scam. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah.
Look, you and me, but I was like, what? Is this real? Surely this is not real.
Yeah, I thought it was a scam.
Girl. But was it a scam?
Not
No.
at all. It was the greatest investment, one of the greatest investments I've ever made. I would do it 10 times over if I had known what was in store for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It is truly amazing. It is truly amazing. So do you have anything that you would like, anything else that you would like to share with our audience today?
I think everything that was laid on my heart, thankfully I had the chance to say. And like I said, I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity, and just to encourage your audience, honestly, and people watching this to just go forward and step into the person that you know you're being called to be, because it's scary. But once you realize that fear is an illusion, and I know people hear this all the time, but it's the truth. Because if you think back over everything that you were afraid of, and you ended up moving forward in spite of fear or despite fear, did your fears come true? Like, did those things actually happen? And 100% of the time the answer is no. Like, I was afraid to apply to Yale. I argued my advisor down about why I shouldn't apply to Yale. He told me to apply. And if I hadn't, I've been afraid. I still get afraid. And it's
Sure.
not the fear, it's the decision to actually step over fear and say, like, even though I'm afraid, I'm still going to keep moving forward. And, once you do the things that you fear disappear. Like, literally, it goes away. And then you have more fears that try to come on. But that's why you have to really challenge your fear, and you have to crush it and just say, not this is deeper than positive thinking. This is actually sitting down and saying, is this truth? You question everything, every thought that comes into your mind, because you are not your thoughts. You have thoughts, you have fear, but it means that you're able to let those things go as well. So that's what I would encourage the audience, is just to move forward. And I'm saying this to myself too, because I've had the thought of dropping out of school at least 3 times this week.
Oh, the devil is a liar. The devil is a liar. No. No. And you have
going back to Bali, like.
Forget this. Look, do I need it to get to where I'm going? Not at all. As a matter of fact, I'll be in debt. if they knew the real.
Listen, I was like, do I really need to be here? But I
I
prayed
have
for them.
I have met and been in the presence of people without a piece of paper.
And they were so happy, just happy,
Woo!
genuinely happy and at peace. And
Yes,
it's so different when you step into an environment that we're socialized act this way. Like
yes.
I said, I studied this, so I understand human behavior, and we're socialized to think the way we do and to have these subconscious beliefs. And the work is, like I said, uncovering everything that was taught to you and actually
Mhm,
getting down to the truth and asking yourself, is this truth? And you know the answers to that. We have
mhm.
to stop going outside of ourselves for answers, and we have to turn around and go inside because that's
Yeah,
the only place that they are.
absolutely. And you have to face those fears. I mean, and you do it. I know that you still have fears
Oh yeah,
because I mean, you're growing,
yeah,
and that's nothing but the enemy trying to keep you from your destiny. That's
yes.
all that is.
That gave me a chip.
I tell you, when I seen you, I mean, swimming in the ocean with the fish, I'm like, what? That's
I
something I
never
have
thought.
not done. I was like, oh no.
I never thought I would do like Pamela. When I say in a million years, like I'm afraid of the ocean. Like
Oh,
literally,
me too.
and
And
it's
I was
so.
like, I was scared for you down
I,
there. I've seen people do it, and I'm look at it. I'm like, look at her go with the fish in the ocean.
listen, I did it 2 more times after that.
What?
Yeah,
That is amazing. That is so amazing.
it's not so scary once you do it. Like because once you realize what it actually feels like, why was I afraid of this?
Right, right. Wow, but I'm just, girl,
Thank you,
girl.
Pamela.
You are. Look, I want to be like you when I grow up.
Stop. I'm excited. I love this process of like just getting older and getting like wiser because like I see these women that I look up to and they
Mhm.
just seem so at peace within themselves. And it's just like, and I listened to an interview with Oprah and J-Lo, and they were on the Vision 2020 tour. And
Yes.
J-Lo talked about, because she's 50, and she was like, she was like, 50 is like it. And Oprah said the same thing. She's like, everyone says like 30, 40. She's like, no, 50 is where, and I'm like, yes.
I can attest to that.
See? So I'm like, I'm excited. I mean, as long as you just take care of yourself, and we all know that your biological age is more important than your chronological age. So just understand that what goes in your body comes out as well. Like you live from the inside out. So you have to be careful what you put in your mind and
Mhm.
your body, because you can think yourself into ageism. Like literally, like you can literally think yourself into illness, but you can also think yourself into health. And like I said, this is all proving at a scientific level. Just go watch Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton. Like you have to, study epigenetics. Like this stuff it's real.
It
This is
is.
real.
Exactly. And is in the word.
Yes, amen. All science is doing is proving what spiritual leaders and what
In
we've
the
known,
Bible already.
what we've already known.
As a man thinketh, so is he.
Yes,
Come
yes,
on
yes.
now. That's the word.
That is so true. I wish I could just like drill that in so much because that's so true.
Word. I'm here to tell you. Meet me in the morning. We'll read it.
Oh yes. Oh no, today is Thursday. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Yes. But it has just been such a joy to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you, Pamela, for having me. This was so fun. This raised my energy by like at least like $1,000. Thank you.
Mission accomplished. I tried to do a little something, something.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And you definitely helped with the process. You
Thank
are, God is doing some amazing things through you. And I am
you.
so
Yes.
glad that you came to share with our audience. And I know that they were encouraged as well. I know that they're going to be blessed by uh, your story.
Thank
And
you.
I know that you have inspired me and just to live a greater life and just live a life of freedom.
Yes. It feels so good to just not care.
Exactly. But still get it done. I mean, I tell you, this girl right here, get it done. And I'm like, I just want you to know, she volunteered to help me to write my book, and
Mm.
it's a challenge.
It's a process, but once you birth that, it's like a laboring process. Like once you give birth to this and you realize that this is going to serve the world, it's just like, okay, like just let me do it. You pace yourself. It's like a marathon. You pace yourself and you're going to get it done because like it's in you. The book is already done.
It is.
It's just bring it into the physical world. It's manifesting that at the physical level. So it's done.
Yeah, it is done. It is done. I received that, and I
Yes.
claim that
Yes.
it's done. So yes, it's done. We are going to make it happen. So I have three questions that I ask my audience, right?
Mhm.
The ones that come. And so the first one is, as we wind down, the first question is, what are you most grateful for?
My mom.
I love it. I love it. Great answer. Great answer. The second question is, what is your definition of peace?
Peace, my definition of peace is understanding that you are a spiritual being having a human experience and understanding that nothing can disturb your world unless you allow it.
Mm, that's good. That's good. And question number three, what are some of the things that you do to maintain your sense of peace? Or whether it's daily rituals or some things that you would like to share with our audience that helps them get on the path of letting go of the broken pieces of their past and helping them to move forward into their life of peace.
Yes. So one of the first things I do is I journal. So I try to journal every day. And like I said, I started journaling when I was in middle school when I lost my dad because it helped me cope. I think of
Mm,
journaling as downloading. So you're
mm,
getting everything that's out of your head and you're unweaving it on paper and you're just seeing what's actually in your subconscious. Another thing that I do is I listen to people who are at a certain awareness. So I listen to people on YouTube, like I said, like Les Brown. I listen to people like Dr. Miles Monroe. I listen to people who understand the laws of the universe and they're willing to share that, who understand they're operating at a different level of awareness. And so it makes you, it's like a programming, it's like any
frequency.
programming, repetition. It's repetition.
Mhm.
So you have to reprogram your mind and just be careful what goes inside of your mind. Like social media, you have to be careful. You have to be careful with the news and like just all these things that are trying to bombard you with a certain level of like a certain frequency. You just have to be aware of that. And I think that's pretty much it. Is I just listen to things that feed my spirit and journal. And I like candles to also like set the mood in my outside environment. So I make sure that it's clean. So I love clean environments, clean spaces because a cluttered space is a cluttered mind in my head. So yes, you have to be, you have to be mindful of your surroundings. Yeah, just keep in clean spaces, both
Ab-
energetically and physically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm definitely with that. I am definitely with that. I again want to thank you so much for joining us today and gracing us with your presence and for another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This. And thank you for sharing the space with me.
Thank you, Pamela. This has been honestly the highlight of my entire week. Thank you.
Oh,
I'm so serious.
oh. Well, I'm glad that I could bring some light to your week.
Thank you.
Yes. And so, with that being said, make sure you all join us back here in the morning for where we read the entire Bible in 365 days, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But wherever you are in the world, because we do have a broad reach, check your local time zone so that you can join me live. If not live, joining on the replay is cool as well. And then next week, make sure you join me for another episode of Who Wouldn't Serve a God Like This, where we will have another phenomenal guest. And I pray blessings and peace and prosperity as you go throughout your day. And again, hey, That's all for now. We look forward to seeing you shortly. Bye bye.